If we're caught, they will torture us to death. These words ran through the minds of 4 prisoners as they put on Nazi SS uniforms inside Hitler's deadliest death camp. June 20th, 1942. The unthinkable happens at Auschwitz. For prisoners steal guns, grab Nazi uniforms, and take the camp commander's own car. They are about to attempt what no one thought possible. An SS guard snaps to attention and salutes as they drive toward the final gate. One wrong word now means death. The fake Nazi officer shouts, "Open up or I'll shoot you in the head." The gate swings open. In broad daylight, they drive to freedom while real Nazis watch and wave. This is the shocking true story of Kazimierz Piechowski, prisoner number 918, who pulled off the most brazen escape in history. Auschwitz was built to be impossible to escape. The Nazis killed anyone who tried, making sure everyone watched. Yet these 4 men didn't dig tunnels or cut wires. They simply walked out the front gate, dressed as the very monsters who tortured them. Kazimierz Piechowski was born in 1919 in the free city of Danzig, now Gdansk, Poland. He grew up as Poland struggled to rebuild itself after gaining independence following World War I. As a teenager, Piechowski joined the Polish Boy Scouts. The organization instilled in him values of courage, resourcefulness, and love for his homeland. These lessons would soon prove invaluable. On September 1st, 1939, Nazi Germany invaded Poland, triggering World War II. The brutal occupation that followed targeted Polish leadership, intellectuals, and anyone who might resist. After the invasion, 20-year-old Piechowski and a friend attempted to flee to France to join the Free Polish Army forming there. They made it to Hungary but were captured at the border. Handed over to the Gestapo, Piechowski was sent to Auschwitz in 1940. Not because he was Jewish, but because he was Polish and considered a political threat. He became prisoner number 918, one of the earliest inmates in what would become the Nazis' largest death camp. When Piechowski arrived, Auschwitz was still in its early phase. It hadn't yet become the industrialized killing center it would later be known as, but it was already a place of unimaginable cruelty. The average life expectancy for prisoners was just 3 months. Starvation, disease, beatings, execution, death surrounded them constantly. Piechowski was assigned to a construction detail, building the very camp designed to imprison him. The work was backbreaking. Prisoners who collapsed from exhaustion were often shot on the spot. Through a combination of physical strength, determination, and luck, Piechowski managed to secure a better position as a warehouseman in the storage building. This gave him limited access to different parts of the camp, knowledge that would prove crucial. In early 1942, Piechowski received devastating news. His friend, a fellow scout named Alfons Kaprowski, had been selected for execution. Something inside Piechowski snapped. He later recalled, "It was June. The flowers were blooming, and my friend was to be executed. I thought, I can't wait any longer. I have to escape now." Escaping alone would be nearly impossible. Piechowski needed help. He carefully approached 3 other prisoners he believed he could trust. Josef Lempart, a priest who had been tortured by the SS, Stanislaw Jaster, a member of the Polish resistance, and Eugeniusz Bendera, a Ukrainian mechanic who worked in the camp garage. It was Bendera who first approached Piechowski with a crucial piece of information. He had access to the SS garage where Nazi vehicles were kept. Together, the 4 men devised a plan so bold that it bordered on suicidal. They wouldn't try to sneak out under cover of darkness. They wouldn't tunnel beneath fences. They would walk out the main gate, disguised as SS officers. The plan required split-second timing, nerves of steel, and incredible luck. Each man had a specific role to play. Bendera would secure transportation. Piechowski, who spoke the best German, would pose as the commanding officer. Lempart and Jaster would complete their false SS unit. But first, they needed weapons, uniforms, and a vehicle, all while under constant surveillance in a camp designed to make escape impossible. Saturday, June 20th, 1942. The day began like any other at Auschwitz. Roll call at dawn. Work assignments distributed. Guards positioned. The 4 conspirators had chosen this day carefully. Saturday meant reduced SS staff. Many officers would be off duty, enjoying themselves in nearby towns. Their plan hinged on a storage building known as the Effektenkammer, where the belongings of murdered prisoners were sorted and stored. Inside were SS uniforms, weapons, and documents. The building was off limits to regular prisoners. Getting inside and back out would be the first major hurdle. That morning, Piechowski and Jaster were part of a work detail loading gravel onto a horse-drawn cart near the camp kitchen. Their supervisor, a German criminal who had been appointed as a capo, was known to be corruptible. They bribed him with a watch they had stolen from the warehouse, asking for permission to retrieve some forgotten equipment. With his approval, they slipped away. Meanwhile, Bendera was at his job in the motor pool. Using a forged work order, he gained access to the garage where SS vehicles were kept. His target, the camp commandant's personal Steyr 220 convertible. Lempart, the fourth conspirator, made his way to the agreed meeting point near the warehouse. All four needed to arrive within minutes of one another for the plan to succeed. Piechowski and Jaster reached the storage warehouse first. Using a duplicate key Piechowski had secretly made during his time working there, they slipped inside. The warehouse was a grotesque testament to Nazi crimes. Thousands of suitcases, mountains of shoes, eyeglasses, children's toys, the abandoned possessions of those who had been murdered. Working frantically, they located SS uniforms that would fit them. Shirts, pants, boots, caps with death's head insignia. They found grenades, for machine guns, and ammunition. When Lempart arrived, they quickly outfitted him as well. Then they waited anxiously for the final member of their group. Minutes ticked by. Has Bendera been caught? Without him, in the vehicle, their plan would fail before it began. Finally, they heard an engine approaching. Bendera had secured the commandant's car and driven it to a prearranged spot behind the warehouse. The four men quickly loaded their weapons into the car. Then, in the most dangerous moment of their escape, they changed into the SS uniforms, out in the open, behind the warehouse. Discovery at this moment would mean immediate execution, but there was no other option. They couldn't walk through the camp in prisoner uniforms and then suddenly appear as SS officers. With their transformation complete, they climbed into the commandant's car, Bendera behind the wheel. Piechowski in the passenger seat as the ranking officer. Lempart and Jaster sat in the back, holding their machine guns, ready to use them. With Bendera driving, they proceeded through the camp at a deliberate pace, not too fast to draw attention, not too slow to arouse suspicion. They passed groups of prisoners who glanced at them with the usual mixture of fear and hatred reserved for SS officers. None recognized their fellow inmates beneath the Nazi uniforms. They passed real SS guards who saluted the officer's car without a second thought. Each checkpoint brought them closer to the main gate and to freedom. Finally, they approached the final gate, the main entrance to Auschwitz. A barrier stood in their way. An SS guard stepped forward to inspect them. This was the moment everything could fall apart. Real SS officers would be recognized. Papers would be checked. Questions would be asked. As the guard approached, Piechowski made a split-second decision. Attack was their best defense. He leaned out of the car and shouted in his most authoritative German, "Heil Hitler. Open the gate or I'll open your skull. We're in a hurry." The guard, faced with what appeared to be an angry SS officer, snapped to attention and quickly raised the barrier. The car drove through the main gate of Auschwitz. The four men maintained their composure until they were out of sight of the watchtowers. Then, reality hit them. They had done the impossible. They had escaped Auschwitz. News of the escape sent shockwaves through the Nazi hierarchy. For prisoners had not only escaped but had stolen weapons, uniforms, and the commandant's own car. The camp was locked down. Searches began immediately. The remaining prisoners faced harsh collective punishment. For the escapees, the journey had just begun. They abandoned the car and split into pairs to improve their chances. Piechowski and Bendera made their way south, eventually crossing into Ukraine. From there, Piechowski returned to Poland and joined the Home Army, the Polish resistance. For the remainder of the war, he fought against the Nazi occupation as a saboteur and underground fighter. Jaster also joined the resistance, but was eventually recaptured and likely executed. Lempart and Bendera survived the war, though their post-escape stories are less documented. The Nazis' retaliation for the escape was swift and brutal. Families of the escaped prisoners were arrested. Some were sent to Auschwitz themselves. The camp authorities instituted new security protocols. Collective punishment became more severe for any hint of escape planning. Despite the increased security, prisoners continued to attempt escapes from Auschwitz. Of the approximately 928 who tried, only 196 succeeded. Many who were recaptured were executed publicly as a warning to others. When World War II ended, Poland's troubles continued. The country fell under Soviet control, trading one oppressive regime for another. Piechowski remained in Poland, but found himself persecuted by the communist authorities because of his ties to the non-communist Polish resistance. In 1947, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison for anti-communist activities. The man who escaped Auschwitz found himself in prison once again. After serving 7 years, Piechowski was released during an amnesty. He became a teacher and engineer, living a quiet life while Poland remained behind the Iron Curtain. For decades, he rarely spoke about his escape. The communist authorities discouraged discussion of Polish resistance heroes, preferring to emphasize Soviet liberation narratives. It wasn't until the fall of communism in 1989 that Piechowski began sharing his story widely. As one of the most successful Auschwitz escapees, his testimony provided valuable historical information. In his later years, he became an educator, speaking to young people about his experiences. He wrote a memoir titled, "I Was Number 918 at Auschwitz Concentration Camp." When asked why he finally decided to share his story, Piechowski responded, "The young ones, they need to know. To understand what happens when hatred rules minds instead of respect for human beings." He continued giving talks and interviews well into his 90s, determined that the lessons of Auschwitz would not be forgotten. Kazimierz Piechowski died on December 15, 2017, at the age of 98. He had outlived his Nazi captors by more than 7 decades. His escape became the subject of books, documentaries, and museum exhibits. The audacity of stealing the commandant's car and impersonating SS officers captured public imagination. The story of Kazimierz Piechowski is extraordinary not just because he escaped Auschwitz, but because of how he did it. He didn't try to hide or run. He adopted the appearance and demeanor of power itself. In a place designed to strip prisoners of humanity and identity, he temporarily took on the identity of his oppressors and used it as a weapon for freedom. The Nazi regime murdered approximately 1 million people at Auschwitz, most of them Jewish. It stands as one of history's most horrific monuments to human cruelty and hatred. Yet even there, in that factory of death, Kazimierz Piechowski and his fellow prisoners found the courage to defy a system designed to crush all hope. They reminded the world that resistance is always possible, that the human spirit cannot be fully extinguished. Piechowski himself said it best in one of his last interviews. "I didn't escape because I wanted freedom for myself. I escaped because I wanted to tell the truth to the world." If you are inspired by people overcoming impossible odds, make sure you are subscribed for our next First Achievers video.